My name is Sandeep, and I'm quickly covering in for Jay, your host. So, quick couple of housekeeping things. I hope your Wi-Fi is working. If not, the password is welcome to Bangkok with W and B capital. I've heard people ask where the washrooms are. It's outside the building. There's an air-conditioned bus. That's your go-to place. Please check out all the floors. There's a lot of events happening. There's a lot of installations. And I'm from Web0, the team organizing this event. So we do a lot of events and also offer Devrel as a service. So without further ado, I'm going to invite our speakers and moderator onto the stage. All right, thank you.
Hello? Hi, how's everyone doing at sub0?
GM.
So for this panel, we're going to talk about data, DePin, and demystifying storage in Web3. For our social media manager of sub0, they describe our panelists as Polkadot outsider. But I don't think that might be the case. So how about this? Let's start a self-introduction plus a story or angle with your friendship with Polkadot. So as for me, I'm Qinwen. I was working with Web3 Foundation for 4 years, building China ecosystem and community. Now I'm building Lollipop. We're utilizing GEM as the platform for DA, shared sequencer, and stateless validator to serve for building Solana network extension, which is a layer 2 for them. So how about let's start with Ayush. So tell us more about you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ayush Mishra. I'm the blockchain architect at Cere Network with the years of experience in decentralization solution within the Polkadot ecosystem. So like in Cere, Cere Network, it powers the decentralization and the cloud infrastructure and bridging the automated edge computing and user operations to the souvenir data. So we have built the first decentralized alternatives to AWS S3 and CloudFrame, enabling anyone to deploy automated data cluster that can support storage, streaming, and the AI compute capabilities. So Cere is basically transforming the user ownership by addressing the issue of centralization control and the privacy. So we have built our blockchain on the top of Polkadot ecosystem.
Cool. How's Viet?
GM, everyone. I'm Viet, head of Devrel at Celestia Labs. Personal story about Polkadot. In 2019, I discovered alien technology called parachains and substrate. And back then, it was very peculiar to learn more what is happening over there at this alien land. And it turns out that the Web3 summit was I think is still the OG summit where Anatoly was pitching what is proof of history in Solana. And I believe that this is where I got high conviction that I need to drop my corporate job and start looking for a project where I have the same conviction as everyone else. And yeah, at Celestia itself, is a modular DA network. It helps people to build rollups. It scales basically with number of users using light nodes and data availability sampling. And erasure coding is very, I would say, homeland noted in Polkadot ecosystems too, because you guys know how it's done.
Hey everyone, my name's Hannah. I am the CTO of Storacha. We are a decentralized hot storage network built with Filecoin. Before that, I've been working on IPFS and Filecoin, two data storage technologies, for now 6 years. In terms of my relationship with Polkadot, well, I've been a long-time admirer. It's written in Rust, right? Yes? Yeah, so you guys are real programmers. I'm like a Go programmer, so I don't feel like I'm fully there until I get back to manually managing the memory. And then The other connection I have is I'm really, some of my close former coworkers are the folks behind Frequency, which I believe is a social network that's built on top of Substrate, that's like on the Substrate network. So that's my other connection. And yes, I'm really excited to be here and also excited to not be an outsider and become more of an insider. So yeah.
So good to have everyone here. And lady first, let's start question with Hannah. And you mentioned about Storacha, and it's a layer 2 hot storage built on top of the Filecoin. And could you explain to us the difference between the hot storage and the traditional decentralized storage on Filecoin? And what are the unique value that Storacha bring to the ecosystem?
For sure. So the interesting thing about what we're doing with Storacha is, in some ways, it's an evolution of Filecoin. In other ways, it's doing the exact same thing that Filecoin set out to do way back in the day. Filecoin's sort of like original mission was basically going to be like an Airbnb model for like S3, like Amazon, like essentially you could use it like an Amazon S3, but it would be built in this way where you were just renting storage from, ephemeral providers, maybe even people, running computers in their home who had hard drives, and also it was completely decentralized L1 blockchain where the storage proof itself was. Where the proof itself was based on proving you could do the storage. So that's like 3 different things in one. It's almost like an iPhone level product. And so it's taken a while. I would say we're still chasing that, right? And so the Filecoin blockchain is an amazing decentralized storage technology. It's a very unique storage proof. I don't know that there are any L1 networks other than maybe like Arweave, where like the actual consensus is based on proving you're doing storage and doing like real storage. The challenge of that is it's extremely hard and it places a bunch of limitations on what you can do. And so the Filecoin network on its own is probably well suited for a class of storage that I would call archival. Right, so archival is like, in centralized terms, this would be like your Amazon Glacier, right? And there's immediate usages for that are really relevant for like Web3, like chain archiving, especially as like a lot of the compute networks have gotten way faster and added their own L2s, and now you have like they're generating all these transactions and it needs to go somewhere. So in terms of an archive, that's a great option. Hot storage is like, I want to store an arbitrary amount of bytes I want to pay like as I go maybe, and I want to be able to retrieve it probably multiple times in a second or less of latency. That's kind of like your hot storage tier, and the set of applications you can do with hot storage is just, that's basically what runs the web, right? Like, so it can be any type of application in Web 2. And any kind of, like it also includes, really cool applications in Web3, like instead of chain archiving, chain indexing and querying, which is like something that, like it's a huge problem and it's a really cool thing to be able to offer an easy solution around. And so our particular story is, so in that Filecoin, in that Filecoin original mission of Airbnb, S3 that runs like Airbnb with a blockchain consensus. And I was around for the pre-development of Filecoin, and I was leading the team that was trying to do the S3 part, right? And there were like 3 of us. And meanwhile, everyone else was just trying to get a blockchain off the ground, right? And so, and so we wrote the original deal making for Filecoin, and I wish I could say that I got it right the first time. I think, it's very hard software, but part of the reason I'm doing Storacha is that after all this experience, I laid out a bunch of things with some other really experienced folks, and I was looking, and I'm like, this could work, right? And so that's really exciting. And the other cool thing is I think we can go a step farther. And that really gets into the user control of data and the user ownership of data. And I think we're building a storage platform where when you put data onto our network, every single thing that happens with that storage is tracked can be tracked by you, the user, not everyone, and you can get receipts for everything that's happened with your data since you put it on there, and have full control. Where to some extent you are simply renting out your data to these, you're renting a hard drive, but you are not giving up authorship or control in the way you do with any other platform. And we have a whole technology stack around that that's really exciting. So, yeah.
Thank you for highlighting the data ownership.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key component to help us differentiate Web 2 and Web 3.
It is.
So the second question is to Viet. It's also data related. So as we all know that Celestia's modular DA network is often highlighted as a key advantage. Could you help elaborate on what's the unique benefits that a modular DA network offers to both developer and user? And also, I might have a follow-up question on the DePin related, because I saw there is a mobile phone on Celestian website. Do you guys planning to do some validator DePin play?
So yeah, that's a fantastic question. TLDR, Celestia has no execution, okay guys? So yeah, there is no execution, you cannot do smart contracts, anything. It's the most minimalist design where you can only post your blobs, sample the block, see that it's available, and then you go cook your own thing. And why we sacrificed everything and just focus on consensus and DA, because we can focus on scaling it. That's why our roadmap has 1 GB blocks, light nodes everywhere, because at the end of the day, the end game, as today we have listened to a lot of talks, is light clients is the end game, where you have ZK verification and all this other stuff. And what devs can do is you should launch your own rollup, in a sense that it should be so easy to fire up your own stack, in a sense like you're doing the same with Vercel and websites. Like if today we're still in the meta where you need to source a lot of resources to just launch something that just says, hey, this is the history, you cannot go back, and you need to have big coordination games with validators and stuff, then I think we won't accelerate the adoption rate. And with rollups, we can finally get there. And of course, with rollups, what is awesome is that you will have awesome interop. As I think it's not a secret, even everyone who's doing a bunch of chains end up with the same problem, like you need interop. And going to the DePin part, Celestia itself is not doing what is in the North Star of Filecoin, which is storing the internet and archiving it because it's data retrievability. What we only do is to prove that something has been published, like I would say, in a span of like less than 30 days. Why you want that? Because in any rollups, because you don't store your own blocks, you need to make sure that if there is a fraud happening on your state, you can look up the data and prove to everyone else that, hey, this is, for example, a fault proof. Or if you're a ZK rollup, you always say, hey, I'm sharing to the whole world the validity proof, and now you are running a bunch of light nodes or light clients, you can verify the proof itself. So yeah, I would say that definitely I see the future where both solutions are working, because devs want first the data to be fast distributed, safe, and at the same time the data should be retrievable, because we all love NFTs, we all love posting memes, and they should be permissionlessly retrievable without any single party.
Yeah, thank you. So the question goes to Ayush. Let's chat about AI. AI is storage. So AI right now become increasingly central to the tech innovation. And how do you see decentralized storage solution contributing to the AI model training? And what benefits can Celer's infrastructure bring to this process? especially when in comparison to the centralized data solutions?
So as I would say, like as AI evolves, decentralized storage is crucial for AI model training, offering better security and privacy than the centralized solutions like AWS, which faces risks like data breaches. So, for example, like Cere, it prioritizes data sovereignty, which allows users to control over their own data. Like no one else can access to their data without their permission. And one of the critical challenge with AI model training I see is the need to access vital data set efficiently. However, Cere's modular architecture, it provides support for efficient access to the vital data set by providing, for example, horizontal scaling without any performance loss, and also by reducing reliance on the costly centralized solution. Cere enhances data security, privacy, and integrations across blockchain applications using its Polkadot ecosystem connections, providing interoperability with the AI applications.
Okay, and we covered data security and interoperability. These are also the hot topics. So go back to Hannah.
Sure.
A follow-up question on Storacha. So I personally very curious about the primary use case you envision for the hot storage, and also how does Storacha make it feasible to handle the data that requires rapid access and also frequent retrieval? So how does it address the challenges of latency and scalability?
For sure. So first, I'm going to talk about what you can use it for from a working backwards to my grand future plans to right this second. I mean, the reason I'm in this is I want to build an internet where we don't have all of our data in these giant silos that are controlled by massive corporations. And I want to get back to the internet where we put our own stuff out there and we control it, right? And that's my close to my heart. That's why I'm doing this. Immediately though, I mean, so we offer object storage today. Most people know us from our initial version of the platform, which is called Web3 Storage. And it's a hot object storage. You can put your data onto it in a what's called content address form, which means that it's verifiable. And it will be part of IPFS, the IPFS network. When you do that, you can get your NFTs, all of that. A lot of folks, OpenSea actually runs on our platform, right? A lot of their data storage is on our platform for the NFT metadata itself. We're moving very rapidly into gaming and AI and DePin, right? All of these are use cases where people need rapid access to their data, and they're generating a lot of it, right? And there's some really interesting things you can do with content addressing, which is the technology that IPFS is built on. In gaming, for example, around distributing game patches, you can move there are certain ways you might be able to move the data faster or smaller in terms of the amount of data you do transfer. Also, user-owned assets in a game, in a massive multiplayer online game world, you can, the technology we have around user-owned data really might unlock some really interesting use cases. I'm really excited about gaming just because I finally get to be a game programmer. It only took me 30 years. That's how I originally wanted to become a dev. But similarly, AI, obviously, people are generating tons of data, and they need a place to put it. And we can offer some things that you can't get, especially for the decentralized AI world, in the sort of in terms of again, user ownership, and then also sovereignty, and increasingly we're gonna have a lot of stuff. Some advantages around privacy as well, but the trick is to hit that hot storage, that fast retrieval that you were asking about, and the cool, how do we do it? Well, first of all, we've been working very closely with some of the core developers on Filecoin. I'm now not a core developer, I'm building something else. And we're actually working on a new proof that is tailor-made for for fast retrieval, proving that essentially the data is ready to go to get retrieved. That is not the only part of that question. I'm really passionate about it. I can totally geek out if anyone wants to later. But you need to know that your data is ready to be retrieved, and then you need to know that it will be served, right? And there's different solutions for each part of that problem, and I get really excited about the technology there. It's probably not what anyone else is excited about, but and then lastly. And then we're also and then we're going to actually work with Filecoin storage providers who have been looking for a way to do retrieval in a really sort of hot storage type way, and we can actually use the existing Filecoin storage proofs to provide a guarantee that your data is not going to get lost, right? So the existing Filecoin network already has these storage proofs that say this data isn't gone. And so now we have another set of proofs that say this data can be retrieved, right? And quickly. Now, and there's a million other problems in getting data to a user quickly. And like I said, I could geek out about all of it for a long time, and I'm happy to if we have time, but I know we only have 10 minutes left, so.
After your explanation, I feel like me personally, very interesting to learn more about Storacha. So it sounds like it's the solution for the rapid data access and also the data retrieval. Maybe right now we have only 10 minutes left. Maybe I can ask one question and our panelists can answer. We can start with Ayush. So the last question, actually, Hannah was covered before. It's about the data sovereign. So we all here for Web3 and we're concerned about the data sovereignty. Unauthorized access and the monetization of the data, user data by the tech giants. So how can we, like the Web3 solution, offer a better approach to data ownership and privacies? And what mechanism can Web3 user for Web3 to allow user regain the control over their data and perhaps even benefit financially from granting the authorized access?
Sure. So, Web3 solutions, for example, Cere is a decentralized data cloud, which provides decentralized data cluster for the decentralized storage, and also eliminates the centralized control by the centralized giants. Web3, like in the blockchain, it has access management system where user can set a password and they can manage the access, like who can access their data. Additionally, Web3 provides the data monetizations where user can earn reward by sharing their data with the authorized party and shifting value and control back to the user.
So Viet?
Data sovereignty, is it correct?
Yeah, the same question for everyone.
Okay, so yeah, I think sovereignty is a very important aspect in everyone's lives. And in order for us to achieve that, we also need to remember that it should be accessible. Because if the price for sovereignty is too high, then probably we'll end up in a dictatorship, in a good way, because it's just economically making sense. So in order for us to get there, I think we should start thinking as an industry in Web2 terms, i.e. if an API request in Web2 is 1/1,000,000th of a dollar, then each transaction, each hot storage, each proof verification should be at that level. And yeah, right now we're still not there yet, because if you look at Grow the Pie, whatever chart it is, we are worshipping, let's say, 300th of a cent, which is, I would say, still not there. And yeah, if we make abundance in storage, DA, and all the models that we want to store, I think this is where sovereignty begins by default and not enforced because we're talking in panels.
Do you have pricing? So for you guys to think, what's the best pricing model for like the datas?
I think the best price is free. Like, let's imagine like each of us will not pay for the price. Why? Because the value add on the data on top makes the difference. So it's the same, in the same sense, imagine if we could share our data in a permissionless way without sharing our identities, and still we could benefit from, from talking to each other in a sovereign networks. And I think this is the future of Web3, where people stop thinking about transaction costs, storage costs, etc. Because, yeah, I can just talk, let's say, to you and know that you have give me an invite code to another awesome event, and by using that awesome event invite code, you're having a, let's say, revenue share back, which means why we need to talk about pricing. We know that we are earning without anyone in the middle.
And Hannah, what do you think? Like,
So the pricing or the data sovereignty?
no, the sovereignty.
Oh,
you
yeah.
Also
So I think there's an interesting thing in Web3, which is that doing access control, so the traditional way that people gate data when they store it on the internet is close to impossible, right? Because the entire concept of access control is based on trusting the person who has the data, right? That they're going to enforce the rules you tell them to enforce. And so I think that starts off as a really tough problem, but it triggers you into thinking about solutions that totally change the game in terms of how you do access control and authorization. Suddenly you need to think about, for one, starting with a baseline of encrypting all data, right? And then you also need to think about, like, you're going to have data move around from all of these different, federated, decentralized players, different parties, right? You need a completely interoperable way to do authorization. And our product is built, we didn't build it, we didn't come up with it. It's built on this technology called UCAN, ucan.xyz, I think is the website, if you want to check it out. It is a complete rethink of how authorization works on the internet. And I think it's the coolest thing ever. So, but it means that, because we're forced to rethink these things, we have the opportunity to make decisions that essentially lock in the fact that when you put data into these networks, somebody can't force you to make that decision of hand over your data, good luck, right? And it's going to be a long road, because every time you take away trust, you add a whole bunch of technical problems. But I think that it's really interesting, and I mean that's the stuff. That's why I'm in this game. That's what excites me. Yeah.
So no matter which our project we represent from a different ecosystem, but here we are as someone to working Web3 to work on the same mission, which is on the data sovereignty. And our panel is closing to 30 minutes. Let's thank for our panelists for their interesting the discussion and insights.